which is made by Tyler, and working with our established software, which is RBA. We've been using that same software for 30 years. We've been able to transfer over what's called interims and by letter adjustments, and it happens on a monthly basis. But this year, there first of all was a delay for about 6 months, so we had a high volume back in April and May. And then we've had delays when it comes to July and September. And now the biggest concern flag that we have is the fact that there was a September meeting last week in order to certify the roll, and that was postponed. And we, on our end, have been dealing with some issues that we feel might compound if we don't address them soon. And this is going to be a problem when we're trying to send out 90,000 taxpayer bills here in the beginning of the year. We start printing in December. So here's what some of the things are. We have had, when we do bills, when we try to print them, there have been times where bills have been missing. Meaning we print them in our printing with Wayne, and the prints comes out, says there's a certain number, and we don't get them. We have no idea why. We have found that there are times when the escrow company has been eliminated from somebody's property. The parcel doesn't have it listed. So we count on that in order to send out the proper bill to the proper location. We have also had what's called a key parcel, and another term would be clean and green, where the reductions have been not calculated correctly, or a bill has not even been generated. When someone's supposed to have a reduction, they have been given 0. And there have also been some concerns about taxable and non-taxable properties going back and forth. And we have started to get taxes on government properties that normally would be tax exempt. And we're getting alerted of these things by the taxpayer, not necessarily something we can see. And the volume, if you get an idea what the volume has been, the first couple months we were in the 700 to 1,000 range because we were delayed for so many months, and we're now in a couple hundred. But we still are not seeing these things until afterwards. We don't recognize some of that. And the one thing that I'm going to have Patrick speak to here in a couple minutes is the fact that the last 2 rolls, we were hoping that we would have corrections. Instead of corrections, we have found that the names on 70% of those that transferred over, their name of the parcel owner was eliminated. So what that means is when we print the bill, the address is there, but the name is not. And we found that out by accident when it came to July. We print them, we put them in envelopes or automatic envelope stuffer. We send them out. We had some come back through the mail undeliverable. We had some of them where we had calls, or when we were doing the refunds that came out of that, we found that when we generated the bill to match the refund, the name was missing. And so we had to go manually and take care of that, as well as then we looked at the next roll. And out of the 100 that we processed, 70 of them didn't have names. And that means you have to manually do that. Could you imagine if that happens to 100,000? It's a problem that we wanted to address. Now, some of the concerns we've had is that this is a software talking to software issue. And we've been trying to do it department to department, and it's not been able to resolve. And we are going to get this new role somewhere in mid-November. So our time is very limited to address this. Now, on our end, RBA is willing to meet halfway. They would like to actually, if they have to write code in order to adapt to whatever it is Tyler is sending, we have our software offices ready to do that. The problem is we can't seem to get that conversation to take place. So even though I'm here being that canary and I'm trying to tell you there's an issue, I also want to have a resolution in hand as well. So I'm making a suggestion. I think the first step may be that we here internally, whether it be that the law office calls it or not, but at the commissioners, the treasurers, and the assessment office needs to sit down so we can identify what the actual need is. And then ultimately, this is software. So ultimately, these 2 software companies have to be able to talk. We've not been able to get a contact with Tyler to talk to our contact within RVA. And so ultimately, that's the concern. And we need to do this before we start having these bills sent out. And then some of you might say, well, if we do this, remember we were going to outsource. We're going to treat those bills the same way an outsource would. We're printing them with trust down in Wayne. These are large volumes, obviously. We are stuffing them. We're not reviewing them, although we could do a random check, but we're still going to do it the same way. So if this happens to be a missing name or a missing escrow account, we won't be able to check. And I'm going to let Patrick tell you exactly he feels about his biggest concern, since he deals with this one. These are manual, right?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of handle all tax alterations, and I mean, I think, yeah, the names and the escrow accounts have been the biggest problem because you expect errors when you're dealing with some software switches, like that's normal. And we can handle errors, especially because we get an error report from RBA. So when there's missing parcels, it lets you know, here's an error, and I can go and fix that. With names and escrow accounts, there's no error report because it's just taking them out. So you don't find those until well after the fact. And that's the main concern. I think Josh and Robin have been very accommodating. Use RBA. So they don't know what's going on the back end. We don't even know what's going on the back end. And they're, trying to talk to Tyler, but they also don't have access to Tyler's back end to know what's going on. And we haven't talked to Tyler. So when we talk to RBA and they're saying, oh, these, there's errors in the file from Tyler, we kind of have to take their word for it right now because we don't have the other side of the story. So that's just what we're trying to squash before we get this big tax roll in, because it's going to be really difficult to know and identify where problems are.
So it's not really the request is your office wants a meeting with the assessment office to try to work through the logistics of this.
Really, we just want,
We really.
yeah, we just want IT to kind of, Tyler to meet us at the table and possibly talk with RBA
And
as
you
well.
try to coordinate this and you haven't been successful in trying to coordinate that meeting up to this
No.
point.
We've actually
don't
been
have
told that it's not
contacts.
necessary. And I don't, if that's Tyler telling Josh that I'm.
You did call a meeting and we all
Is the time frame gonna work?
My belief is because, yeah, based on the conversation we had with her. She's already notified the contractor, if they're aware, if they're gonna, once we get the question.
Yeah.
Right, right, so we should be good to go.
Johnny?
Just that, the Youth Ambassador Program has their first, fall meeting. I can't praise this program enough. They're gonna have 400 high school kids from 20 different schools, every school district, parochial, charter and public is represented now. They have these peer-to-peer counselors that get training in bullying, suicide prevention, and a whole bunch of other good skills, and it's just a tremendous event, and I think all three of us will be there to thank the counselors and the students for what they do. I think it's a best-in-class program across the Commonwealth. Really proud of that. The only other thing is just a reminder that the household chemical pickup is scheduled for October 12th, and you have to re-register to that to be able to drop softball Saturday, May 12th. And 1 p.m. at Brady's Run. So just want to put a reminder out there, people. That's it.
Anything? Move to any other business? Now we move to audience participation. It's station name for the record.
My name is Tony Hugh. For those that don't know me, I'm a Beaver County resident. I live on Golden Grove Road in Economy Borough. And thank you, solicitor, for bringing that up. That was helpful. A couple quick questions with that is, did you email the State Department asking that question before you guys decided to renew the contract, or did you renew the contract first?
We renewed the contract because you're required to use, we're required by law to use approved machines.
But you said you didn't know that. You checked with the state first.
I'm not sure I understand your question.
You said you checked with the state first. So,
We checked with the state regarding, you guys did a hand count demonstration here.
but
we
you
asked-
already renewed the contract.
We had already renewed the contract prior to that, correct?
So what discussions were held that led to the decision to renew the contract despite the public advocacy for the hand count?
Because it's required in the law that you have to use an approved machine.
In addition to that, if I might,
Please.
respectfully, my understanding of your organization's request is that we hand count the presidential election votes, and
We would settle for that, yes.
we would still need to utilize those machines, which need the maintenance agreement.
Remember the raise.
Right, for every other race. So you understand where I'm going?
I do, but so my next question is this, what section of the election code did they cite that told you that? Or was it from the HAVA Act?
25 PS section 3031.1.
Okay, then why does section 1222 specifically talk about how to hand count if it's in another part of the code?
I mean, I only we're gonna debate the logistics of the election code. I'm just passing on what we received from the director of the Bureau of Elections.
I get it, I get it. I get it, and I'll ask other people ask questions, just so you guys know, this isn't going away. We went out and got 500 signatures of people that support this after that last demonstration, because we kind of felt slapped in the face after you went and renewed the contract without notifying us. I left a message, Commissioner Camp, for your office, I never heard back. And so this isn't going anywhere. If I have to go out and get 5,000 signatures and come back, or 10,000 signatures and come back, I don't care. This is about transparency.
But you understand the law right now says we have to have these machines.
That could be argued. That's a matter of opinion. You're an attorney, you know that. We could argue that why does the election go that way?
There's no county, is there any county in Pennsylvania that doesn't have one of the machines?
Not yet, but there will be. There will be. Thank you.
State your name for the record, please.
Yeah, Rick Forster, Beaver County resident. Is that email that you sent and received, available to the public?
Yeah, I can give you a copy.
Sorry,
I can give you a copy after the meeting.
okay. It's timestamped and dated.
Yep.
Because we can bring a lawsuit against the state if we have to battle that. We're willing to do that.
Our position right now, I'm giving is the issues with the state.
So my next question was, and it may have already been covered. If it was, I apologize for making you reiterate it. Who made the first reach to the state? Was it you or the board, or was it the board contacting you?
Whenever you say the board, you're talking about this board, or you're talking about the state?
No, I'm talking about this board here. Who reached out to the state first to ask the question?
This board through our election office reached out to the state about the hand count first.
But it was after you've already made your decision.
It was after the contract was renewed for the maintenance
And
agreement.
what was the purpose of even doing that if you've already made your decision? To pacify people, the county?
No, I mean, there was a demonstration. We've had multiple people who have come here to the meeting numerous times. We felt there was an answer owed to them.
You're right, that's correct. There was an answer owed to us, but you went ahead and made the decision anyways without checking with anything.
Well, as we said before, right now, the way the law is written, you need the machines because that's what's required in the law. And every other race, this ballot, I don't even know, there's probably 8 to 10 at least races that are on the ballot. 7, thank you. So, and this is a small one. We're gonna have to use the machines to count all those other races aside from the presidential race. Or else we're gonna hand count the entire ballot, which would take, I'll get into that.
But at the last meeting, and I could recheck the minutes, but I'm pretty certain you said you didn't know. You were unclear of the law.
We were at that time. That's what we tried to clarify that issue after we had the meeting.
But before you knew, so you're ignorant to the knowledge of that, but the board still went ahead and made your decision anyways against.
So what that agreement was in part, it was a maintenance agreement for the machines that we have. There was no doubt that those machines were going to be utilized this fall in relation to non-presidential races. Therefore, we needed to have the maintenance agreement in place. So I think that's might be where there might be a little bit of miscommunication. But do you understand what I'm saying? Is we needed the maintenance agreement for those other races regardless.
Yeah, I understand that, but obviously the most important race comes down to the presidential race.
Well, so let me jump in if you don't mind. Are you guys willing to entertain letting us hand count the presidential race then for just the public's transparency?
As an audit?
No, so we can't audit the vote. So
There is an audit. There is an audit.
Audited every election.
But that's not what your people.
interesting because
No. No.
There's a 2% audit that's done at the election. There will be an audit pursuant to
by whom?
the election office. The law requires 2% after every single election. There's a 2% audit that's done. And there'll be an audit done for this particular fall, as there is with every other one pursuant to what the election code says.
Yeah, that's a very valid question. The people that are auditing the 2%, what are their parties' affiliations?
Look,
Well, and I can add context to that too, with all due respect. The inventor of the 2% audit has admitted that it's not designed to catch any fraud. So you can look that up. He's quoted as saying that. There's plenty of info to show you that 2% audit is not going to satisfy what the public wants, which is the transparency that we need to restore confidence in our elections.
but again, those are all stuff that you're pointing out. The way the election code is right now, we're bound, we have to follow. Election code is what needs to change in order to implement some of the things that you're bringing up.
Also, does the election code prohibit us from counting just the presidential race?
According to what the state says, yes.
We can't even, I mean, think about that. We can't. This is our elections. You guys cannot touch a paper ballot and verify that the presidential race is legit. That doesn't make any sense.
Station name, sir. Ron Ryer, Palmdale, PA. And appreciate the explanation, Solicitor Dollars. I recall that prior to the hand counting demonstration, I sent a PowerPoint to all of you with some objectives and goals and some information stating our concerns as to why we were interested in hand counting. And that arrived in advance of that meeting, and then during the meeting, I recall that the issue of the machine renewal came up. In fact, this you brought it up, And I remember specifically seeing Solicitor Fidelis and Solicitor Manning glance back and forth at each other at that point in time, like you knew that there was maybe something to that. Maybe it was a coincidental nod, but it appeared to be, the timing appeared to be rather close. And so, you know, I guess that if the renewal of the machine was, maintenance was required, I guess we would have appreciated some discussion or dialogue at that point in time. I did email after the meeting asking for, because I had found out about the renewal from the work meeting from the meeting notes. And so I did email and I said, hey, you know, I get it. You have to renew the maintenance agreement. Can we just do 1 year instead of 5 years? And no reply. So and you were on that, Solicitor Phillips.
I think that was discussed at the meeting as well, because there was concerns brought up from the audience about it being a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year lease. And I think we did determine that those contracts do have an out clause, as any contract has an out clause. So I do believe, you know, the 5 year was to lock in a certain price.
Yeah, we get a better price by doing it 5 years. And to answer your question before, we weren't privy to anything before, and it's been the meetings here, you see, on average, this is a small one. We have sometimes anywhere between 50 and 60 resolutions that come before the board, and quite frankly, a lot of times they don't get before the commissioners until a couple of days beforehand.
Yeah.
They're all the departments that put them together and bring them forward. So I can tell you with 100% certainty, there was no collusion or anything. We knew something at the time that we had up our sleeves at the time of that meeting.
Well, I'm not implying collusion. I'm implying knowledge that maybe was speculated upon that could have been shared as something that.
But again, I go back to under the election code, we're required to have an approved machine. You can't get around that.
If you recall the PowerPoint that I mentioned that I sent, in that PowerPoint, I stated several objectives. And the last objective was to be able to hand count the presidential and vice presidential election for 2024, along with using the machines, with hopes that maybe in the future, like 2025 and beyond, we would replace the machines potentially if there was support for it. And so I never advocated, and I don't think any of us really advocated replacing the machines for the entire election recount on such short notice. I think that would be very difficult to do. But I don't think it's difficult to replace the machines, or at least supplement the machines in order to corroborate the results from the machines with the hand count. And then, you know, if the machines and the hand count is really close, then I think you have even better ammunition to say, hey, we want to keep the machines because the machines did a good job. But if there's a fair amount of difference, then maybe it's subject to some additional review and determination as to what lies next. So that's my thoughts on the subject. And I really appreciate you, you know, allowing this dialogue, because I know this is an contentious issue. And I know that the state has laws. Some of those laws are not so much law as dictates from the Department of State. And in order to change any law, there has to be a lot of public feedback that the law isn't good. And so that's what this is really intended to do, is provide that public feedback that the law is not good. It needs improvement, or, you know, or outright change.
That's a Harrisburg.
Understood, but all government is local. So, and Harrisburg may be the state seat, but it is not government in terms of the local establishment, which is us.
I understand.
And you.
I will follow the law, which I've always said I will do. But the hand counting does not satisfy my requirements for having transparent, free, fair election in a timely manner to get the results out. So
Again, not advocating replacing
speaking on
machines.
myself, yeah, I'm opposed to the hand count.
I hear that.
We understand that, but the people that worked your campaign and got signatures for you and got you on the ballot and elected you want that. So you're going
I
directly
understand.
against.
I also understand that the trust deficit doesn't go away if we hand count. It just shifts to another segment of our voters that will now mistrust hand counting versus the machines. we're never gonna have 100%. Everybody believes this was a good election.
We used to.
Never gonna happen.
We used to.
We used to. Before 2016, maybe before 2000 in the hanging chat situation, we used to.
Computerized system, just make
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was then, this is now.
Not
Not an excuse. Not an excuse.
Yes, it is.
If you could just state your name, sir,
Carmen Angle Seeker.
and your address, please.
Connie Borough.
Thank you.
I have a question for the commissioners. You can answer this question. Do you believe that the 2020 election was fair and that there were no cheating at all for the 2020 election? Yes or no?
I believe Beaver County ran an election with integrity, and our results here in Beaver County that we oversee was a fair process, yes.
100%.
100%.
100%.
Even though there's evidence against that?
I cannot
Not
speak,
Beaver County.
I cannot speak for other counties or other states across the United States. I'm speaking for Beaver County that which we oversee, yes.
We've had 0 cases of fraud.
Vivian Funkhauser, South Beaver Township.
Thank you.
A follow-up question to that, we do know that now there are a lot of illegal immigrants coming into every town. I don't know the numbers here in Beaver County. Perhaps you do and you know where they are. What confidence do you have to give us that US citizens will be voting? And we will not have illegal immigrants, non-citizens who will be voting.
That's done through the registration state. I can tell you there's checks and balances that our election office has in place to catch those types of situations. Anything that has come up in the past that has been questionable, we have turned over to the district attorney's office for our detectives to do an investigation. Similar to what we've done before, we'll do it again. If there's something that comes to our attention that doesn't seem to be accurate or seems to be improper, we are 100% committed to following what the election law says, and we'll continue to do that. To specifically answer the checks and balance question, you're better off getting that answer from the election office. I'm sure they can go through and tell you exactly what that is. I just know that whenever things come up, we've always taken it to the furthest limit that we can to ensure the integrity of the elections here in Beaver County.
But I haven't looked into it. I'm fairly confident that no illegals will vote in Beaver County based on the process. Even with the automatic registration for local licensing stuff. There's a check, a balance, a social security number, a residency. Any first-time voter has to live 30 days and show that identification. I guess somebody could slip through the system. Hasn't happened. I don't expect it to happen this time either.
How naive.
Just to comment on that, and I appreciate the fact that there's a person in place. I would also cite that as of last week, there were several tens of thousands of voter registrations that had not yet, mail-in ballot voter registrations that have not yet been verified. So, and that I understand that the state has the ability and authority to verify those and send them out without the county being involved. So maybe that's a question for me to our director of elections.
That's going about that.
That concerned me when I heard it.
Again, I'm highly confident Beaver County is going to have a fair, open, transparent election by residents of Beaver County.
Two other constituents don't feel the same way.
Just state your name, ma'am. and-
Amy Gordbergen, Beaver County resident,
Thank you.
Tender Township. I wonder how you would feel if you guys would have lost your election. Would you have felt differently about hand count? Would you
No,
have
ma'am.
felt,
Not what they say.
even though this is what your constituents are asking for, is a hand count? In addition to the machines, but a hand count to just the president?
100,000 registered voters. Over here.
And most of them voted for the three of you, Rob Diesel.
The ones that bothered to come out, though, yes.
So we know where Commissioner Manning stands. Commissioner Tammy, Commissioner Revere, would you support Hank County's presidential?
No.
race?
No. We can't because the code says it has to be done by those 6 qualified machines.
We're saying
When the
it,
machines first came here, excuse me, the machines first came here, I was upset. We were pretty much forced, because we had really good machines. We had to buy new machines that were certified.
Yep.
So, because we had followed the mandate of the state. We're just an agent of the state. People don't understand that. Your complaint, you need to go see your legislators who are here, they're local, and tell them you don't like the way the law is. You want the law to be changed. That's how you'll get the law changed, so that we can act on the new law. But as it is right now, I'm not gonna vote to violate.
Yeah, well, in our minds, we're not asking you to vote that way. We vote, the Commonwealth is a Commonwealth so that the counties can run their own elections as long as they're according to the law. And we can debate back and forth about all the semantics of this, but we're just trying to do our duty as citizens and come here respectfully and have these open dialogues. And we really do appreciate it, even if we don't agree with everything.
Ms. Wolf.
Mario Wolf, Ohio. To mention that the 2% is really not, enough, really. So, I know I've heard someone else speak about doing a 10%. As opposed to 2%,
Westmoreland does 4.
and 10% is, will certainly going to, be more, covering of all of the votes as opposed to just 2%, which the originator says isn't going to prevent fraud.
That would be a compromise, a bigger percentage. That would be a nice compromise.
I've brought that up before, and that's something I think we consider something.
Would that be per precinct or in general, just across Beaver County grid?
I believe it's a sampling.
Yeah, it's sampling, but I think what for feedback, because I think we can have this conversation with election bureau. What are you guys looking for? What is there a number?
I mean, Westmoreland does 4.
They do it across the county or precinct.
I believe it's across the county. You'd have to come to the commission too. I think it's across the county, but I don't want to say for sure.
I think true representation, because I work various precincts every election. And I think that it would build confidence if we could have that per precinct.
2% per precinct.
I would say
At least, I mean, like I said,
if
Westmoreland.
we could go to 5%, I think that would be setting a good confidence level. More than,
I agree.
That's a
Yeah.
number I threw out a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago. I just don't know how much work's involved with that and what it would take to do it, but that was a number I threw out.
Yeah, I think that would be a healthy compromise, honestly. We could make that.
And quite possibly would help rebuild the trust your constituents would have in you guys, in their board, and their county government. Because right now, it's not there. The trust and the,
Understood.
Yeah, I think we can have that conversation with the election bureau about this. Again, I don't think any of us up here fully know the ins and outs of what that audit looks like, what the time frame of it, how much it takes, but that's something that we can explore with that.
And I think York County does 10. Just, I can get you guys some information on what I've done statewide. There are counties that are doing more than 2. So I'll get you guys what I can, so you have the resources to look into that.
Thank you.
So how long do you think it would take to come to an agreement on that?
Well, I don't think there's an agreement to come to. It's a decision by the election board and what they want to do, but we can talk with our election bureau, get some feedback from them. Well, we would obviously want to have that in place prior to the election itself.
We've already heard how we're coming up on the.
The ballots go out.
Probably first week of
First week of October.
Yeah.
What would you suggest our next steps are to help make that happen for you.
Well, I think we know what your request is. I think at this point, discussions with the election bureau, again, see the feasibility, see time constraints. We can report back once we figure it out. For the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, the sales gonna be just trying to close you. Yeah. When can I expect a response, solicitor?
I would say within the next couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Mr. Ellis.
Anthony Ellis, Bridgewater. I mean, I just want to ask, you gentlemen up there, are you even interested or aware of how much fraud has been uncovered across this country? We're just going with the flow. How COVID was used to get the mail-in ballots. I mean, are you guys just going with the flow of what the state says? Everybody's hands were tied through COVID because of the state. They abused children because the state and the schools, the COVID was used to steal an election. Or are we just going with the flow? I mean, that's just a yes or no question. But there's a lot of people here because they don't trust what happened in 2020. And that's why everybody's here. So just going with the flow or I mean, there's a lot of are you
addressing me specifically?
I'm just addressing you gentlemen.
I do a tremendous amount of research. There have been a lot of allegations of fraud.
Tons.
And very few instances of actual fraud. And there are multiple lawsuits that kind of back that up, that have gone through multiple states. Do people make mistakes? Do people,
Did you watch the documentary 2000 Mules and how they were stuffing boxes and, I mean, truckloads of ballots going all over the country?
by other videos and stuff?
No.
I mean, state of Utah does 100% mail-in ballots.
No one,
I think the one thing to keep in mind here is, again, the only thing that this board has control over is Beaver County.
yeah.
We don't have control over any other county, any other state. We can only control what happens here in Beaver County. And I think everyone sitting up here has told you, we feel very confident in the integrity of the elections in Beaver County. That's, we can speculate on other areas, but we can't control any other areas.
But your constituents don't feel confident in you. There lies the problem.
Andy Gray, Center Township. I just wanted to ask the commissioners, all of you, how you feel about immigrants who are coming to Beaver County, who are participating in the community, who are uplifting Beaver County as a region, and what you're doing as county commissioners or various boards to support those immigrants.
Well, I'm on the Beaver Lawrence Farm Bureau, and I can tell you that there are a lot of legal work permit immigrants, because the farms won't exist without that labor, because they can't find anybody else to do it. So I'm very supportive of the farming communities, but particularly there's 100 Guatemalans that are working at every farm that I know of in Butler. They're here, they're hardworking, they're honest people. Illegal immigrants, when they come to our attention, will end up through ICE in a detention center or someplace else and taken out. Every once in a while, I'll hear some crime that's committed. But obviously need to be held accountable and removed from the county and the country. So.
And I too am a member of the Farm Bureau. Every time we go to those meetings, that's their biggest complaint. They can't get enough workers.
So would you say then, as a follow-up, that immigration to Beaver County is assisting not only with the workforce, but with the population? Considering it has been shown to be.
Immigration built.
They're certainly helping the economy and keeping farming going in our region.
Immigration built Beaver County.
Thank you.
Immigration built the United States. I mean,
I'm only concerned in Beaver County, as I'm trying to say.
I mean, I don't think any of us have any gripes with immigration as long as it's done legally
Right.
and it follows the process of becoming a citizen. And that's what we see, being, going around at this point in time.
Full disclosure, my daughter-in-law was a Japanese citizen. My son, when he was working for the defense contractor in Hawaii, lives here in Beaver with my son and my 4-year-old grandson.
And did it legally.
Absolutely.
We have no problem.
No, okay. I'm Chris Whipple. I'm from Harmony Township. I'm going to make a comment and then I have some questions. I'm going to turn this into a different direction, which you may not be happy with either. Mr. Amadio, you said you're an agent of the state, and yet you say you represent Beaver County.
Yes.
Yeah, we are a representative republic. We represent the people. So that's my comment. So I want to turn to the Times building.
Yes.
I want to know where this stands. I'm confused by all of this. I guess it seems like it was purchased in May of 2023. You know, I guess what was the assessed value of this building? What was the asking price? Is there a purchase price that's on the table? Is there an entity that the county is working with? How is the building being assessed prior to any action being taken to determine that that would be a direction to go? I mean, I've got a lot of questions in my mind with this. So I'd like, again, some clarity.
Absolutely. So we appreciate your question, and just so you know, you turning the tables or you asking these questions don't bother any of us up there. So, so at the time, I believe, I'm gonna try and remember the questions that you asked.
I've got it written down, so I'll
So
remind
what was the first one? I'll be able to answer that. The assessed value, I believe, is $3.1 million, and that was done by Tyler Technologies.
And when was that done? When was that?
That would be with the county reassessment.
Process.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry, next one.
Sales price.
Oh, so I guess the process, what steps have been what have been the steps taken to, and who did that? To say, this is something that the county should explore? How was the building assessed to determine that it would be something to consider?
Yes, so they're several months back,
And when would that have been?
6 to 12 months back.
Okay, so about last September?
One of our department heads reached out to the broker of the building,
And who's the broker?
Mike Coleman. That was the name, as he's a broker on many commercial buildings. Commonwealth Realty, I think, is the broker.
Okay,
It was then brought to the Board of Commissioners,
and which department was this?
the district attorney's office.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Former
the former.
district attorney.
Wait,
Mr. Lilligan.
okay.
In the fall of 2023.
Fall of 2023, the ESU, our Emergency Services Unit, our SWAT team,
Oh, okay,
they need more space. So
okay,
the way it works, and we have these discussions throughout the last several weeks, they use space from Director Eric Brewer, who is in the back right corner, who's our 911 Emergency Services Director.
okay,
He has a hazmat garage along with walking loop on Route 51, by Brady's Run. They are out of space. If you drive by there, you will see a lot of equipment that is set outside that is purchased from the Southwestern PA, Region 13. It's an asset of the whole Region 13. Our ESU team is in there. They use space, so they need more space. It was brought to our attention. In the meantime, not only does the ESU need more space, our Public Works needs more space because our election equipment is stored down at Public Works in a secure facility. They use about 12 to 15,000 square foot of space down there. Again, they are in the same situation where their equipment is outside, so there's another need for more space. And also, conversation has been had about records improvement. We are in a contract with the mines where we store our documents that we have to store for life. They're, again, that's the law. We spend anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000 a year on the mines.
okay.
And we have a contract with them till the end of next year.
Oh,
And at the
end
end
of
of next year,
25.
we'll need to come up whether we're going to have a new facility we're going to renew that contract for the month.
Okay.
And it's been said in these meetings and obviously in meetings with us, for instance, I know the controller's not here with us today, with Ben is, departments like the controller's office, they don't send anything there anymore because it's too expensive for them to pull it out when they need it. So they are now storing stuff here.
So can you address that? That was another
Yeah.
confusion. So how frequently do you need to pull documents and it seems like the mine has everybody under,
They do.
There's there's another question. Is there no other
There's only
competition?
two facilities that do document storage,
Okay,
Iron Mountain and the mines.
Okay.
That's pretty much it. They cornered the market on
Okay.
document storage.
And I say,
Changing those, this is what I hear saying.
and I believe, we speak of Westmoreland County, I think they're in the process of building a facility to start putting their records on.
so how much does it cost to pull a record?
And it's under contract. Ben, I don't know if you can answer that question.
It's expensive, just to pull records.
So prior to this, we were running just a space. And we were running just a space in the mines where we had set stuff dumped there
Okay,
and you could go get it. So our public works still goes and gets the stuff,
okay,
but the mines has to physically pull it out because our stuff might be stored with Heritage Valley stuff, our stuff might be stored with
Sure.
UPMC. I don't know who's in the building.
sure.
Or in the mines. Before it was all unorganized, so in 2016, the mine, they came to us with a proposal when it was accepted. So so there's a need for more than just separate things. That's how this building got. I think one of the questions was, how do we assess this building on whether it is a good building? I think we're still in that process, but
Oh, okay,
in the last 8 to 12 months, whenever we started discussing it, we had tours of the building with any department head or elected official was invited to tour the building. To say what we thought we might use the space for. So that's how we assessed the 44,000 square foot building that is available.
okay. So,
Where are we at?
right,
So no further, or last week, whenever we had this discussion, I know you weren't here, so I'll reiterate.
Okay.
The board, I think the last public meeting did approve engaging in a contract with John Rackley, who is an attorney, to discuss a sales price.
okay,
The reason we need a
Sales agreement.
Sales agreement
Would encompass the sales.
which would accomplish a sales price.
okay.
Oh, that's okay. Good thing. I just wanted to make never. In that time, we won't be doing the due diligence, and the reason there was a lot of questions on why do we need to come up with a sales agreement or a sales price without whether or not we're gonna purchase a building. Well, that takes into consideration on whether or not we're going to purchase the building. So we need to know how much it's gonna cost. The sales price would be A, the rehab of some of the building would be B and C and so on.
And is there a timetable and will you be,
The timetable to purchase the building?
well,
Well, by the end of next year, we have to come up with something for the mine.
okay,
I know Director Brewer, on his budget this year, I think, put in for some, I don't know, what are those called there for outdoor, like, cover, like canopy covers, steel canopy covers for his equipment, because, some stuff is starting to rust out. So, there's a time frame on the urgency of it, but no, there's no direct time. It doesn't say this has to be done 30, 60, 90 days.
okay, all right. Has anybody assessed the neighborhood impact, the impact on the people that live across the street? I mean, if you're storing big equipment and all that other stuff?
But, no. And that could be done in this due diligence period, the neighbors that have talked to, that reached out to me regarding the county's looking at, they asked what it will be used for. The only big equipment, I guess, would be the ESU, the Bearcat, which looks like a mini tank. I'm sure people have seen it. It's not that loud, but there hasn't been any. If it is purchased, that will be on the left side of the building where the left parking lot is, where the ESU might be stored. And when they come out, they'll make a right to go down 51. I don't think it'll be any louder than the train tracks that are right below it.
So at this point, there's been no determination as far as price, as far as purchasing. But we know we need to have some decision made by the end of 2025
Regarding
because of the storage issue.
Yes, and we made it very clear last week and moving forward that that's going to be an open and transparent conversation once we hear. But I believe
Yeah, what you said is 100% accurate. Aside from bringing on Attorney Rockley to essentially represent the county in these discussions and putting together this agreement that would encompass a lot of this stuff, there's been no further formal action taken by the board than where we were.
Okay. Thank you.
And I can get, so something else can touch base on, so again, this is an open conversation. The board, back in March, I mean, we've been discussing this for a very long time, whether if people know that or not. In March, the board openly discussed and approved an appraisal of an outside company to come in and appraise the building, because as Solicitor Fidelis said last, by law, if an appraisal comes in at $2.5 million by law, we can't pay more than $2.5 million.
Okay,
Like, so if somebody wants $4 million for a building, we can't, by law, we physically can't do that. So there was an appraisal company in Butler, out of Butler County, who came out and did an appraisal.
and what did they appraise it at?
Well, 2.84 million.
And our assessment came in at 3.1 million
Okay. Okay,
for 44,000 square foot.
okay. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Anytime. This one?
Regarding the timeframe, that $30 million that we talked about last time, is that, would that have to be allocated or whatever by the end of this year?
So the $30 million, and it's it has to be by the end of 2020.
Well, it has to be allocated by the end of this year, but it has to be used by the end of 2026.
Yes. So it'd be allocated by the end of this year, but used by the end of 2026.
Or you have to make a of that building then right by the end of the year?
No, because the money that the county will be, if we were to use ARP dollars, that money will be into our general fund because it'll be a loss of revenue. The federal government set up a calculation, a loss of revenue calculator. And as I said last week, the county or Beaver could have kept $53+ million of the 92, and we distributed everything besides $400,000 of it. In the meantime, there are municipalities and projects that came in under budget, planning and redevelopment, broadband, some other projects may come to fruition, so that money will come back to the county. They'll be allocated under loss of revenue and not necessarily a project.
Right, well, then lost revenue isn't held to the same requirements that the ARPA funds that were allocated.
Okay, so we're not up against,
A timeline.
the timeframe with that 30 million.
Correct. It's just like the interest is being earned. It's saying he's done a great job on that.
At the mayor.
What's back to us, logic.
You guys believe that the reassessment was done with the best information, honesty, and integrity that have been? Because I have just one question. I have bought a building, that was assessed at $1.2 million. And I bought it for $130,000, and it was slated for demolition. So just hearing those numbers, big difference. So I'm working on that issue, but I'm just making it aware that that's the kind of assessments.
So the county reassessment was a county-wide reassessment, a mass appraisal one. It's not uncommon in your situation. We're seeing we have 500 appeals filed. They're not looking at it in detail the way that an actual appraisal would for the particular property. So in this situation, the mass appraisal showed it at 3.1. We went out and got a company that looks specifically only at that property. It came back in at 2.8. So that does happen whenever you're doing a mass appraisal of 90,000 parcels versus spending more time strictly looking at one particular parcel. That's not uncommon for that to happen in those situations. And that's what we have an appeals process that if someone disagrees with it,
Working on that. Yeah.
you file the appeal and you can go through that process.
Director Brewer, I see.
Yeah, just pull back to your building. I think if you remember, this actually started years ago whenever I selfishly wanted a building on my property down in Cambridge. So, and that time it was used for storage. It's the whole multi-use building, but it's got getting more expensive.
Yeah.
5-6 million at the time.
I'm not sure if you heard that conversation that was had in previous meetings, I know you weren't there. So 2020, 2021, somewhere in there, maybe even before, I forget when it was, Director Burr brought his concerns up of his equipment being outside. Again, this is a Region 13, which is the 13th Southwestern Cape. It's an asset. So even our ESU Bearcat that we have,
Okay.
if it gets called to Washington County, we have to go to purchased by the region. We looked at building a pool building facility down on 911. Obviously, a pool building.
Right.
There's a difference between you putting straw in the pool building, or you're putting equipment. You still have to have cement floor, heat, electric. This pool building, the rough number came in at about 5.2 million.
Okay.
And it was 22,000 square foot. And it was just an open facility, which we also talked about putting a veranda deck, second floor in there for storage and whatnot. Once in a
I'll build it for $4 million.
Save the money.
Chippewa Township put one up for about 600,000, so.
Yeah. That's, that's way too much. So.
And we know the Chevrolet company put one up in Harmony Township right there, so I know what that means. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Just before you adjourn, just for my clarity's sake, when can we expect you to have the discussion with the election board? And can you involve, are you willing to let us, like, some of us, come here, be involved with that so that we
I
can,
think that by next Wednesday, we'll have an answer for you.
by next Wednesday, there'll be. Okay, I think that's, that all we really need.
Yeah.
I mean, will the answer be pre-made or will it be made at the meeting?
Depends on what we hear from the election.
Yeah, and I think we'll have the conversation with the election office. I think you guys provided your feedback of what you'd like to see. I think we'll take that to the election office to see what they have to say. Again, because the audit is until after the election, we're making an arbitrary deadline. If we say next week, but we're not bound by having to have a decision by October 2nd. But I think we will get you an answer of the direction that we're leaning towards going next Wednesday. We can go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Stock out.
Just to add on to that, I can probably speak for many that if the Election Bureau feels that it is a human resource issue, many of us who do go through the training for elections and those who have gone through the training for this hand count would be willing to help out in manpower to do that count. So please let them know manpower is not the issue when it comes to that, because we will bring the manpower.
I'm sorry, I have another question. I just looked at my questions that I wrote down. So I think that I heard or read, I think that maybe it was like Beaver County Radio or whatever, that the building, the Times building was purchased in May 23 for what, $695,000 or something like that?
Exact sale price, yeah.
So we were looking at the building, we weren't looking at the building at that time. Why wouldn't we have bought the building then?
We didn't know the building was for sale. There was never a for sale sign on the building.
Okay,
Yeah.
doesn't it seem, okay,
So I can't
and
speak.
there was an LLC involved with it?
Yeah,
And were there conflicts of
so
interest
the
or something?
conflict is one of the members of the LLC is a county employee.
One of the members of the LLC is a county employee?
Yes,
And what does that county employee do?
you probably know these answers.
No,
You could stay, you don't have to,
No,
Be wrong.
I
he's an
honestly,
attorney.
honestly, I
He's an
don't
attorney.
understand. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, he's an attorney for the assessment office,
Oh.
but has zero impact on Tyler Technology. So we can't control who owns or who purchases the building.
Obviously, that's a
Yeah.
good thing.
And we can't control what somebody sells a building for, correct? That would be no different than someone selling the building to me selling it to my son for $100,000, but the assessment or the appraisal came in at $1 million. But we can't control who buys a building for what. Now, I don't want to speak for the owners of the buildings. We don't have that much information. I think that's what Mr. Rack is going to do in this due diligence process.
Okay.
Even though that's the sale number, I do believe that there is a larger, I don't know, is it a mortgage? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, there's a mortgage on the property. I mean,
For a lot-
the only thing that we can control I guess I should say the board can control is one, do they want to purchase it? And two, they can't purchase it above that appraisal price.
But they can purchase it for lower.
That's what
And that's what Mr. Ryan,
and that's what Attorney Rack is gonna be brought on board to do, to have those type of discussions, to see. Are there things in the building that would need, it's just no different than
Sure.
purchasing a house.
Sure.
If you purchase a house,
Well,
it needs.
that's
to be
kind of-
approved,
that's kind of what I was
price of the
hoping.
Sales price.
And it would be helpful, I guess, for me to understand exactly how, how will you be assessing this building opportunity with the needs that you have just articulated?
Mhm.
Are there requirements that are going to be established that you will then be evaluating and then putting a price if they, if you need to do something? So, what's going to be the total price and at what point? So, that's doing due diligence is.
And that's what we're trying to do. I mean,
Okay.
and there's been conversations had last week, there was a conversation and our controller was here and there was, I know she went to the radio and she spoke very well about it. Any information she needs, she's able to get from us just as anyone else. But there's been difference of opinions when it comes to, well, it's gonna need 2 more DPW workers to take care of the buildings.
Right.
Or it's gonna need a staff, that building's gonna be unmanned.
Yeah, that's another aspect.
Which we won't, I, speaking with Dan Coolville, there won't need to be additional DPW workers there just to be able to cut the grass because it's very little grass. Kevin Tussick, our IT director, we talk about security of the building. He's not really gonna get too much into the deep dive until we get into more conversation, but there's conversation to be had. Does the county, these are real numbers, I'm just throwing them out there. Does the county want to spend $40,000 on security and his team and our DPW electricians can run wires, or do we want to spend $100,000 and bring a contractor in? Those are the conversations that we're going to be had in the next several months.
Thank you, Ken.
Well, any other audience participation? Hearing none, we will move into executive session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir. I text her, she's saying, maybe give the message to the viewers.
Yes. Are you still live?
Press still live.
You're showing me right now?
Wait, let me ask, are you still live?
Are you still alive?
Still alive?
Let me get my stuff and then, we'll do some maybe outside in the lobby. Outside.
This was about, whatever about training.
But I like those factors.
That's what I it's supposed to be. It's real close.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
All right, well,
They just hold 2 or 3 events a year. In the speaker. And so.
okay, I was, I wanted to check.
I just spoke to
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it's on, this is, yeah. That's true.
All right, we'll catch up.
Constituents.
But I think, Jack, that.
You actually are.
Yeah, I mean, most cases, like this person on one person's stage and it's on. You know, I get that. Certainly get records. Maybe not looking at.
It's not money.
Our.
So I can get my kids to school. A Joel and film something with
Large scale. Allow us to tax. You know, voter ID. That's a, that's an.
right now.
You know, being able to do one day.
Even a lawsuit. Like they are. I think our best chance of winning.
Because there's not Dropboxes, you know, the law says. That maybe that's the law says the US directive says they don't need registered voters with their own. Unless they have a. Somebody else. Few months ago. I'm sure somebody else now. Yeah. County. It's fun. I take my trips to.
I gotta bring that down.
Controls. Poorly written election law.
Yeah, but it's not a very.
I got you.
Right.
For its people.
We're gonna come in here right now.
So, okay.
Well done.
I'll see how big sense.
Take care.
Okay.
State's not going to sue the county.
That's exactly the way.
I think you've got to me and take it. You've got to be.
Such a good thing for Beaver County.
Obviously, it's better to ask.
Look, cross on, so I don't look dead, but I guess it doesn't matter, they're already filming.
When Dr.
We don't quit, I'm not quitting.
When Dr. Doug did his thing,
Yeah.
Newcastle, he presented evidence.
I mean, yeah, Doug Frank.
They know.
And then.
You're not gonna win that argument. It's massive. So we're gonna continue, our signature effort. On
Yep.
this petition in Beaver County.
Yep.
If I have to come back to 50,000 Beaver County residents who said I want to. That's the only way. So that way, when they're up for re-election, we go, we don't.
Yes.
We got 50,000 people who want this, and we are gonna support it, because that will do it. And if you're not gonna do it, then you're gonna have to give your own volunteer.
I just think.
Yes, let's push them and cut them on the ballot.
Yeah.
And look at us on the face. No.
You going there?
Thank you.
Okay, I'll meet you there.
Black.
Hey, see you guys. You still live?
Yes, sir.
Are you still live? Good. Hey, this way.
Okay.
Oh, my soul.
It's gonna go.
Thanks for holding the door for me that
Yeah.
time. I had to use my
Oh,
foot.
go ahead.
I'm like, whoa.
It's gonna go all the way to the end. I have my. Yeah, park at your place.
Okay. I think election day, also maybe not in Beaver, I'm over here. I think election day, they're gonna try a scare tactic with either a shooting.
Oh,
or
okay.
they're gonna try to suppress the in-person vote day of election with some type of scare tactic. So we just want the public to know, don't fall for
I know. Well, look what they did at COVID.
it. Don't
I mean,
get your butt
that's why I
out.
had to ask. Do you believe?
No, Anthony, you know the answer.
I know, but I just had to get it on record. I know the answer, but I'm just,
I know.
just driving me crazy. Oh, there's Mr. Stratum.
I'm glad you didn't do the monkeypox.
Oh,
That would have been so funny.
Yeah.
Like the election. Do you believe monkeypox? I'm like, no, it's voting.
I know.
Okay.
Huh?
We got,
It's all.
hold on. We'll wrap this up.
All right, so what am I doing? What am I saying?
It's summary,
See you
Thank you.
later.
what we did, donate.
Okay, awesome. Hello, Pennsylvania. Audit the vote. Quick update from today in Beaver County, which is where I live. I'm not going to preach that the education is key and the fix is local and then not get involved in my backyard. So I'm here at my county commissioner meeting today with a ton of volunteers trying to hold our elected officials accountable who renewed the contract for the electronic voting machines right after they allowed us to do a demonstration for hand counts, which made it look an awful lot like they're just appeasing us and then completely ignoring our request. So we came here today to hold them accountable, ask some questions. It was great. We had a great dialogue. Some parts got a little heated, but it calmed down and there's some unity and we're trying to compromise. And I've learned over the last 4 years, that's what politics is all about. So we might be able to get them to increase their 2%, what's called a risk limiting audit that they're required by law to do, which is actually a total joke because the founder of that admits on record, which I will get up on our website or our socials, that is not going to catch fraud. But if we increase the percentage of that, that's definitely a step in the right direction. And we're trying to negotiate with these guys to see if they'll do that. So those are our next steps. We sent postcards out to their constituents, 500 of them. So if you donated to us, thank you for coming alongside us. Your donation went towards this effort. We sent postcards out to 500 people, inviting people to come to the county commissioner today. We packed out the room. It was standing room only. Definitely made an impact. And we're asking that you're going to continue because we have no intention of stopping. This is a long-term battle, restoring confidence in elections, getting rid of the machines, going back to a hand counting paper ballot system that everybody can see that's transparent is the end goal, and we will not stop until we get there. So go to auditthevotepa.com today, become a part of the solution. If you can't donate your time volunteering, but you can donate your money, click donate now, and we appreciate your support. We'll see you guys on the trail. Keep fighting.
That was